This program is made possible by grants from ARCO, Atlantic Richfield Company, putting our energy into America, and by the Masco Corporation.
This is a very special place, Willem de Kooning's studio on Long Island, near New York. Hello, I'm Dustin Hoffman. This is where de Kooning has worked since 1963. We join him here and watch spellbound as he paints with deceptive ease, slashing paint onto his canvas, moving back to look at the result, stepping forward to stab again. He's never satisfied with his work. De Kooning is the only survivor of a group of artists, Pollock, Gorky, Klein, and Smith, who lived in New York City in the 1930s and 40s and formed the nucleus of modern American painting. De Kooning talks about his work and recollects a bygone era. He makes the connection for us between the artist and his work. He makes it come alive.
I met Bill in 37, the year after I got out of high school. This friend of his had taken me to a show of the American abstract artists, and I was absolutely enthralled to discover that there were living artists in America. I thought that artists of this sort were only in Europe and Paris. And he said, but the two best artists in America are not in this show. Their names are Willem de Kooning and Arshel Gorky. And then shortly after, I was introduced to Bill.
Glenn, what we've collected in the research, a lot of photographs, reviews, and whatever, and what I want to do is see if we can establish some sort of context, and you can help me with these photographs. For instance, these pictures seem to indicate that he often used you as a model.
He did. This one, he was irritated with the idea of Renaissance space, the way old masters did figures. He felt that a figure, when people sat, American women always doubled up, and he wanted to get that kind of pose.
Yeah.
Elder
Are
Kooning.
you an abstract expressionist?
God is talking.
Into the echo chamber.
Well, I don't know what I am, but I'm not the others.
You mean you're just yourself, huh? And if they want to call you, they want to call the whole movement that, well, then you can't help it.
No, naturally, I couldn't help it.
That's
No.
right, yes.
But, I never really worry about it, you know.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask Hal the question.
There, all right.
Am I an action painter?
Nobody is actually any category. I mean, it's not an embodiment of a category, except bad painters. Bad painters can be produced by a phrase, but a good painter is never identical with any definition.
Well, lately I feel really like a very talented house painter, and I get excited once in a while, you know what I mean?
I made a little painting. I still have it when I was about 12.
When you were in Holland at the academy, huh?
The academy is very good, very scholarly. They teach you very slow, you know what I mean? No individuality.
The training must have been quite rigorous.
Well, first of all, we have to use copy things and, you know, to get your hand good and somehow. And then we get a still life, because a still life, I have it in my book yet, you know. Geez, you think it's a photograph. I was only about maybe 15 years old.
15.
Yeah. By the time I was about the 4th year, there were only a few left of the original group.
Was that because it was hard for artists to make a living, and so people didn't go to the academy, or what?
No, they didn't have enough talent.
Oh.
I mean, so you could become a decorator maybe, or a house painter, but that's a real trade too. But, yeah, I mean, it's like a music, you know, like out of 20 people, and they're not all of a sudden terrific piano players, you know what I mean? So I was the best in the class, though. I admit, from then on, I was always about the best in the class. One of them, anyhow. I knew that I had something, you know what I mean?
But you wanted to come to America.
I was a stowaway. Yeah.
Well, they put him on a boat going to South America first. And then Leo Cohen came and said, get off the boat. This one's going to South America. And Bill said, well.
I said, let's go together. I said, well, let's go over there then. I said, you wouldn't get him into South America. So I'm glad that he didn't, yeah. I would be stuck in South America all the time.
Right, famous Brazilian painter. So you arrived in Hoboken?
Yes. I went over there because there's a Dutch settlement over there. Italians and Dutch people and German people, you see. So at least I would be picking up the language, you know, so I'd be a bit in that neighborhood.
Because you didn't speak English?
No. I still don't. I still don't.
You do okay. Yeah. You do just fine.
Yeah.
What was the first thing you saw when you came to Manhattan?
Well, while I was still in Hoboken, a Dutch fellow who I met there and became my friend took me one time out, like a Saturday, going to New York, you see what I mean? He made me get out of the subway that I would see Elvis in Times Square.
Oh, my God.
And yes, I flipped. I said, Jesus Christ, you know. You don't see that in the daytime, but with all the lights, it drives you batty. And somehow that was a fantastic experience to see it that way. Jesus. And it calms you down, too. Because what you say, what I'm going to do with that? Huh?
He was more alert visually than anyone I've ever met in my life. He'd constantly be pointing out billboards and saying, look at that terrific sign, look at that word Coca-Cola, isn't that magnificent? And pointing out the colors that jumped, or grease spots, gasoline stains on the sidewalks.
Bill, obviously, when he came here, thought he was going to be a commercial artist, or it seemed to be that was his intention, as opposed to becoming
He
an artist.
was on his way to becoming a very, very successful commercial artist, but he had his own interests in painting. I think it was a very inner-directed situation. When he decided to quit, he was working as a window display artist for A.S. Beck, and he told them he quit, and they immediately offered him a higher salary, and he said, now I really quit, because now it's getting tempting. And he realized that security was dangerous.
At that time, you weren't selling your paintings. Were any of you selling your paintings?
No, that had nothing to do with it, no.
Nobody was buying your paintings.
Well, we didn't do such good work either yet. Nothing to
I mean,
write
there's a
about
reason.
it. Yeah, it takes a little while when you make a really good painting.
He would work on paintings for enormously long stretches of time, just simply be dissatisfied. I would come in and there would be a terrific painting of a man, and Bill would grudgingly admit that it wasn't bad, but then say, but he has to be moved over 2 inches, and then just eradicate it. And he was very discontented constantly. It was what kept him going, of course. They were done in strange ochre tones. Very beautiful.
What was the problem that you were working on with these men?
I couldn't see it then, but I certainly can see it now. I mean, it's too round, it's too designed.
What about the eyes?
He always had those round eyes.
Yeah.
And I think it was because Gorky and Edwin Denby both had very round eyes. His two closest friends.
No, I met Gorky around 1929. As a matter of fact, the first evening it was a real fight, almost a fist fight. But he impressed me very much. I sure wanted to get acquainted with him again, and I did.
When I first met Bill, Gorky was the most important artist in his life. And Gorky and Bill would constantly visit each other's studios. We would also go to galleries uptown to see Miro, and Bill and Gorky would study these paintings. I mean, really lick them off the canvases.
I learned a lot from him. He was a real smart cookie. As a matter of fact, one time they made a mistake. They made it almost like Gorky was studying, for me.
Also, we'd go to the Metropolitan, and Ang was a very important painter for both of them, and the Pompeian murals. And we'd pass things, and there'd be this kind of intense, concentrated looking. And afterwards, we'd go out and have coffee, and there would be discussions that would come from this. Their shop talk was always about art. I mean, their conversation was just exclusively about painting in very intense fashion.
But the animals, though. Made an immense impression upon me, and I made it my point to be influenced by him.
you know we got married on Emily Dickinson's birthday?
No, I forgot that thing.
We got married December 9th, 1943, 2 days and 2 years after Pearl Harbor.
Oh, sure.
And that's 37 years ago.
Jesus.
Here's Bill with his mother and
Oh,
Nene.
yeah.
That was Wintry.
My first lady friend. She was a tightrope walker.
That must have been in the 20s.
Yeah. I lived in 46th Street near Broadway there, and she was living right next door. And she and her sister, and they were tightrope walkers.
Oh, in a circus or something?
No,
Oh,
in
vaudeville.
vaudeville. You know, they travel all over, you know what I mean? They don't do that anymore now, do they? No. But they had vaudeville always between the movie, like they show some short movies and then vaudeville and then the main feature. They used to do that, you see? And so, yeah, beautiful.
Here's you and me in Provincetown in 1949.
Right, nice cheesecake.
That's right. When I met you, you were working on your design for the World's Fair,
Oh, yeah,
for the Hall of Pharmacy.
that's right. Oh, that's right.
You had,
Yeah. Then things were a little better, isn't it?
yes.
Things were, but it was such a nice period, that Depression period in a way.
Well, everything was very inexpensive.
Well, the mood too.
The mood was
Yeah.
more more idealistic.
more idealistic. Wasn't like.
People weren't depressed for that.
Well, people weren't materialistic.
No, yeah.
They talked about art. They didn't talk about income tax problems. We never, ever had more than maybe enough money to take care of the next 3 days. I mean, literally, it reached the point where we would have $1 and say, well, now, supper or cigarettes. And that often would be a choice, supper or cadmium red.
Well, there was the Depression. Really was a very good time in another way, because later on we got on the art project. Remember? We used to get $23.86 a week. And
How
this-
much did you get?
$23.86 a week.
The project was marvelous in that way. Everyone got the same salary, but the hierarchy of values was up to the artists themselves. They would make murals for post offices and schools, and easel painters would work in their studios. And it was really the first time that a great many American artists had the opportunity to be an artist 24 hours a day.
We haven't been able to find one picture of a painting that was done by him during the WPA.
Well, all of the paintings, the WPA paintings, were sold by the pound. I mean, the government was extremely unwise because they had much more of an equity there than they realized. I mean, so many works that were done on the project were destroyed or lost. But he had had his taste of painting round the clock. He was hooked totally. There was a consciousness of the whole continuum of art as being right here now. Cave drawings were here now. Uccello was here now. Bill's interest in El Greco. All of these artists were present just as much as Picasso and Matisse.
Elaine found out something nice about Michelangelo, about the northern people, you know. He says they paint the way things really are. like from here. And he thought it was ridiculous.
Michelangelo thought it was ridiculous.
I think I found it out just lately that he said that, And, I think that's the funniest thing in the world. That he says they paint things the way they really are. All those marvelous still life painters in that period. So middle class kind of, like a burger art. Beautiful. But he couldn't understand what the hell they wanted to do that for. He was making all those ceiling paintings and those enormous sculptures about life and death. And they paint things the way they really are. It's getting funnier all the time, isn't it?
Did you go in to see the Picasso show?
Yes, sure.
What'd you think?
We didn't have to stand in line.
No? They let you right in?
Elaine, I called them up and said that we wanted to see it, so they let us in.
Yeah. What'd you think?
Oh, it was staggering.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cubism was remarkable in a way. But it was coined to them. I mean, when Picasso and Braque did those paintings, they were just painting, you know what I mean? But it had a lot of cubes in it, though. I mean, yeah.
How do you feel about Matisse?
But he has no ism. That's very true. It's just a painting. Marvelous large painting, like La Désert or La Musique or something. It's just a lot. That's what I like so much about him. There's no ism there, no cubism, no ism, you know what I mean? You just paint a picture. And it's good for me to remember that, too, because just to make the painting, not make any isms. Naturalism, expressionism, abstract expressionism, realism, cubism, futurism. For a painter, those terms, those are things for a handbook. But it doesn't seem to matter in art if you have the latest and most brilliant idea or just a little innocent point of view. You know how an artist works. And so I said that when I was painting those figures, I got a feeling like I came into a room someplace.
Yes.
I was introduced to someone. But for a fleeting second, like a glimpse, I saw somebody sitting on a chair. Mm-hmm. Like, I had this glimpse of this thing, this happening. And I got interested in painting that, you see.
Yeah.
This, like, frozen glimpse,
Yeah.
you see. That's what's my interest. Now, that's not a new idea. Everything is already, like, in art. It's like a big ball of soap,
Yeah. But it's a
and
sort of...
everything is in there already. And you just stick your hand in it and you find something for you. And every time you take something out of it, you have to put something back again. So you have enough for the next day.
When did you have your first exhibition? Do you remember?
I
Which gallery? Not the year. 48?
Oh, she knows more about
1948?
it. 1948. And in those days, I bought house paint, black and white house paint. I didn't have any money. I didn't have any in particular aesthetic idea or theory. I could go to a store, buy a gallon of white and a gallon of black, and be in business. But it was enough, so I could change my mind any moment. I could throw it away I was free. And out of that, of course, came some idea, you know, about black and white pictures.
What were your paintings selling for in the late 40s?
Oh, I forget. How did
I remember.
Huh? You remember?
We sold one to John Graham for $50.
Yeah, something like that.
And then you bought it back in 1950 for $500. John said things have gone up.
Oh, yeah.
Apologetically.
Yeah.
And then in yesterday's paper, Muriel Steinberg Newman donated her entire collection to the Metropolitan Museum. And she had bought a painting of Bill's attic in 1951 for $2,700, and they said now it's worth $1.5 million.
Jesus.
What do you think about that?
Well, it's my whole life's work in one painting. I mean, if I would have gotten that dough, right? But isn't it fantastic?
By 1950, the scene began to really be buzzing, and there were a great many openings, and artists began to go to each other's openings.
Here you are.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Let's see. It says free-flowing drinks.
But they used to put it in the catalog so you would come to the opening.
What, that there were free drinks?
Yeah, it seems to be much more fun to it. You know, all respect to the paintings. How long can you look? I mean, somehow, you know.
So this is Klein, and this is you and Jack Tworkoff.
Yeah, that's right.
Did you all used to talk about your paintings or not? You just looked at each other's paintings?
No, it was all hopeless.
Hopeless?
Yeah.
They talked in aphorisms.
Yeah.
Philip Guston told me that someone asked Franz about Bonnard. And Franz said, that nude is never going to get out of that bathtub. Isn't that perfect?
That's the way it was, yeah. I think we both stayed independent from one another, but each one of us could see the other man's values. That's why we used to hang out. And it was nice, you know. And every once in a while, they say, you have to take something else, not a cup of coffee, because you can't live over there. Then we all changed later on to the Cedar Bar. And then we all became kind of drunks.
Not drunks, Bill, drinkers.
And this is
Meyer Shapiro.
Meyer Shapiro. Boy, he's smart.
He was really a great scholar, is well informed in art history. Once Bill had this painting that he was very disgusted with and was thinking of throwing it away.
Threw it in the hallway, got disgusted with it. I mean, I didn't feel terrible, but I just thought, the hell with it, I'm going to see what I can else. So when he came to visit me, so I told him, I said, yeah, I was working like a dog. And so he says, can I see it? I said, sure. So I took it out the hallway. He says, it's terrific. That's the one in the Museum van der Uitbouw.
Woman 1.
Yeah. So it's not finished, but it is a very good painting. If you do something and it doesn't work out, you're doing something, you know what I mean?
When this was exhibited, what was the public reaction to it?
Shock and dismay and hostility. They felt it was a hostile act on Bill's part. They felt his image of woman was hostile. Bill, of course, felt they were cute.
When you look at Woman 1 now, how do you feel about it?
When I look at the big one, which is in the Museum van der Uitbouw, I get a little scared myself. It's funny. It's so funny when you're so serious about it, and then, well, I guess you have to be serious to make a painting.
I know I've been publicly analyzed, for being a misogynist. That may be so. I didn't do it with that intention. First of all, I was terribly enthralled with the idols in art, the goddesses.
There's a little sculpture they found. That's from prehistory. The Venus of Willendorf, that's what it was. Nobody knows how old it is, but it's way, way back. I guess that gave me the idea of painting a woman, like the Venus of Willendorf.
They do have a certain ferocity, I feel. But that has to do with painting. I saw them in terms of painting, not an image of woman. I was so involved with their development that I saw them in a totally different way. He never just sits down and says, I'm going to draw a figure. That's not the way he works. He works in this area between abstract art and what you know. Let's say you know this is a figure. In this case, here it's an abstraction, and here it's a figure, and they're very, very related. For instance, he has the eyes, the nose, the mouth, and this is a mouth left over from a previous position of the head, and he just left it there, and because it's in this position, the lips and the teeth become a necklace. People kept saying, are you the model for the women? And I said to Hans Nemuth, I'd like to lay that to rest for once and for all. Just take a photograph of me in front of this painting Bill was doing at Leo Castelli's house. And I stood in front of it, and then when the photograph was developed, it looked as though I were part of the painting. It just looked like mother and daughter.
It's good that I saved all those photographs. I'm glad that you found them.
Glorious
Because
paintings.
I can
Yeah,
do
this
it
is
again.
wonderful to be able to see the
Yeah,
different stages
I can
because
do
you
it.
kept changing the painting.
Yeah, and I like to do them again, but they wouldn't be exactly like it. But it was a good start, you know. It was a good state of mind.
The continuous changes I'm making in a painting is many times a state of hysteria, almost. I never intend to do that. It's not a process of working. But I have found out that even that can have its high moments, where in this bewilderment, being in a frantic state, can turn for the good. That's why I don't like the word unbalanced. Because when I'm falling, I'm doing all right. When I'm slipping, I say, hey, this is very interesting. It's when I'm standing upright that bothers me. I'm stiff.
Bill said, if you have to be stuck someplace, you might as well be stuck in New York City. It's called Gotham News. At the end of the day, we'd walk down to the Battery from 22nd Street. We would pass newsstands, and Bill was very conscious of the kind of excitement of the imagery on a newsstand or the constant bustling of the city. He felt it was like Byzantium, and he wanted all these forms all packed together. Then there is a distinct difference between his city abstractions and the landscape abstractions. We were going out to East Hampton in 50, 51, 52 in the summer, and the landscape began to creep into his paintings. This was in 55, but this is suburban Havana, that's 58, and there's a whole different sense of form. You have a sense of horizon, and the forms were more sweeping. It was as though he used brushes that were 4 feet wide, made giant sweeps of paint, almost like the roadway between the city and the country.
It's just a wonderful feeling to sit in a car, passing towns, going over a highway, stopping someplace and have a coffee. I notice that I like the newest things, like airports, highways, bridges, crossings, the things which you pass, like George Washington Bridge, painted with aluminum. They give a very heavenly quality. It's strange because I really don't move much myself from a place. And as a matter of fact, I'm not really a modern man. It's some kind of contradiction. But they do inspire me.
I took a teaching job in 57. Bill and I were separated in 56, and for a couple of decades, we went our own ways. We just each had our own directions that we were following.
end, naturally, it's wonderful to be admired or respected by others, to have an audience. This part of oneself, which is to be recognized as the work of a particular artist. His style, his personality, his individuality. That's the very thing which is against you. It's a sickening thing, where the thing doesn't get free of you. I said it once, it's like having a rat in the room. They're always walking there back and forth, or around the baseboard. It's a necessary evil to get into the work, and it would be marvelous to be able to get out of it.
The maestro, I feel like a horse's ass.
Being here in Springs, in East Hampton, I want to get back to the feeling of the light, what you had in painting. To get this feeling of that light, it was very appealing to me here, particularly. I was very much interested always in water. I went even to the extent that when I came here, that I made the color of sand, actually like a big pot of paint, like the color of sand, as if I pick up sand and mix it, you know what I mean? And the gray-green grass, the beach grass, and then the ocean was all kind of steely gray, almost, indescribable tones. And started working with it and insisted that this would give me this kind of light. And so there were like 3 pots of different lights. And I did very well with that. I really got into painting in the atmosphere I wanted to be in, which was like some form of reflection upon it. Like I always say, like I reflected upon the reflections of the water. It'd be very hard for me now to paint in any other place but here, you see. I have changed. It seems a lot of artists, when they get older, they get simpler. I want to grasp the abstract, not the reason. But I'm almost out of the technique, or the schooling, or theories. Maybe I'm ready for that, see. And I'm without all the previous years of analyzing and formulations, and, one has to do that in life. Everyone. But then there's a time that you just take a walk. Then you're walking in your own landscape. It's an instance, that's kind of a grand feeling. It's like, feels good.
Yeah, that looks pretty good.
Well, I think it's very exciting. It's got a very expansive
Yeah.
scale.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's the way it is, as Walter Cronkite says. I'm crazy about Walter Cronkite. He tells you all the bad luck, and then he says that's the way it is. Huh? Yeah, it's so nice every night. Okay, it worked out all right, huh?
It's quite amazing.
Wonderful. Thank you, because it turns both ways here. So it's all right now. There's another picture now.
Yes.
So it turns out for my good, too, doing it.
In our next program, we'll see David Smith, the only sculptor in our series, yet his art spoke to the same end as did the others. It was a passionate attempt to give form to complex emotions and concepts.
This program is made possible by grants from ARCO, Atlantic Richfield Company, putting our energy into America, and by the Masco Corporation.